we know the movie's going to feel bigger, it's going to feel badder, and if you're going to make a movie feel larger, if you're going to make a film larger, uh, you got to make the story seem broader, and the soundscape has to reflect that. There are multiple points in the Halloween Kills trailer where we hear the Halloween theme on a cello, on strings, and I have said for years that I would love to see a Halloween film take on the orchestral thing and play around in that soundscape a little bit. And you can still have nods to the original piano based, keyboard based, like synth stuff, and even use it for certain moments, but it'd be amazing to see that come to fruition. Would you would you
Like
agree with that?
you want the climactic like moment to have like the main theme, but in like a more grander score other than the piano and synth.
Yeah, it's got to, if the movie's going to feel bigger, if you're writing a bigger script with a bigger idea, and if it's going to be if it's going to be broader on a broader scale, the music has to reflect that. Um, and if you're a listener, I'm a music guy. I've got a music degree. I went the education route, and I'm a teacher. But sound's my thing. Miguel was even a music person for a long time. You still are. I still consider you a music person.
That ended within a year.
What?
I said that ended within a year.
um,
But yeah, I am I do get the whole thing with the whole music and how it affects movies in general. Like I'm a big believer in the score has to complement the movie. And
it
I've seen
does.
movies where the score really takes away from it, and that's a real shame. But I
Hmm.
will um, recognize movies that actually
Yeah.
utilize the use of their score to enhance the story.
Right.
So, and in regards to like Michael Myers' theme, even though I've never been like a Michael Myers fan to begin with, I mean, we all knew what Michael Myers'
Oh,
theme
it's
was. Like
iconic. It's iconic.
as soon as you hear it, you know Michael Myers theme. That's
Yeah.
immediately on the spot.
Right.
So, I think throughout all the other sequels, there really hasn't been much change to that degree of
Yeah.
how they used it to enhance the story. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like this is the first time I've heard this.
Halloween H2O came the closest. It did have an orchestral thing going. Um, it wasn't. I didn't like some of the choices that the composer made. I'm not sure who. I forget who arranged that. But again, the story's got to be. If the story's larger, the score's got to be larger. And John Carpenter, Daniel Davies, Cody Carpenter, they're more than capable of doing it. But if it's done right, you shouldn't even notice it. If it's done right in the moment, you shouldn't even notice. I loved a lot of the liberties that they took with the score in the 2018 version. Like the shape burns is a perfect example. Well, it's the Halloween theme that's playing at the end when the house is burning and he's trapped. But it's the same theme, but it's got different harmonies. It's got different chords underneath. Uh, and I'm gonna flex my music teacher skills a little bit. I got my keyboard sitting here because I wanted to bring this up.
Mhm.
I think it's important. Uh, the way that you make a musical idea sound bigger is in the orchestration, or it's in like the combination of instruments uh, that you have to use for that theme or whatever, uh, and that idea. Miguel, brother, if you got anything to add, chime in. All right.
With the music theory of this fucking movie, I got no
Yeah. I
clue.
mean,
You
I'm not
lost
going
me.
into music theory, but I thought it'd be a cool way to just
Well,
demonstrate what I was talking about here.
well, you demonstrated for us, buddy, and I'll comment on it. I
Well,
mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The fact that the in the trailer, we can tell immediately that the score is going to be much bigger than
yeah.
previous installments,
Right.
100%.
And I love that. It was one of the things that jumped out at me with this trailer is I was like, oh, I was like, oh, kind of knocked me down a little
Yeah.
bit. I was like, that's pretty dope. Obviously, you
Hmm.
got the Halloween theme. Obviously, everybody knows that. Duh.
Hmm.
Uh, but the interesting thing is, a lot of times, uh, you hear it on a cello, and it just does it in little tidbits at first, and then towards the end of the trailer, it gets it gets a little bit thicker. It's more, it's more robust. It's a more emphasized in there. And the
That sounded Celtic for a minute.
Yeah, maybe. And of
It
course, I'm
really
playing it on
did.
a keyboard. I mean, it's not perfect. I
Yeah.
will say though, a lot of times, man, they don't even hire real people to do this stuff anymore because there are computerized sounds that are so real sounding. I mean, I guarantee you, half of, maybe even more than half of the Hollywood scores that you hear these days are computerized. It's not real people because
Most likely.
it's one or two people versus paying an entire orchestra. It's cheaper. Um, the cello is a gorgeous instrument, man. Deep, rich sound. Uh, it conveys emotion really, really well, and I'm really glad that they used that with the theme. Um, Now you put that same Halloween theme with a full orchestra. If you orchestrate it that way and you add in all of these different instruments and you spread it out that way, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I'm not a pianist, so that probably sounded like garbage. But you get the idea. It sounds bigger. It sounds uh, again, you're making the story sound bigger. The score has to reflect that. The sound and the soundscape has to reflect that. Now, there's a moment closer to the end where uh, you get kind of the bass line to the theme. You get that same thing, but this time uh, it's in a full brass section. It's when Michael goes to stab Allison, and she goes to stab him, and he like grabs her hand and like turns it towards her when she's screaming, "Do it, do it, do it," or whatever. And then obviously Karen's standing behind him with the mask or whatever, and we have no idea what happens there. But I'm very intrigued. Uh, but it sounds huge. It's that same bass line, but you put it in the brass. You put it in the brass section, so all your tubas, your trombones, anything with a low sound, your horns, stuff like that, and it's all in unison, meaning they're all on the same note, and it sounds huge. I don't know if you even
Hmm.
noticed that. And that's as soon as like he goes to stab Allison. It's dope. It's really really cool. So that was obviously that. I'm gonna stop there with the keyboard thing, but that was I wanted to kind of demonstrate that a little bit, and I thought it was really important to bring this up because if you are going, again, I've said it like 4 times now, if you're gonna make the story bigger, you have to emphasize that with the score. The music has to sound bigger. The sounds you're using, it has to sound larger, broader. It has to match what you're seeing on screen. Um, Anything you want to add to that? Really?
Well, I was just gonna say that not a lot of people really know like how important the score
Yeah,
and the sound effects matters to the
yeah.
whole movie going experience. Like it matters a lot. Just take for instance, the movie that I think really puts into play was A Quiet Place, because
Oh,
that movie
absolutely.
right
Yeah,
there was primarily, it was the main focus was about sound, and like you could feel your presence within the movie.
yeah.
But that's just to get you more involved in the movie. That's just to get you more delved into it.
Right.
I think the reason where I think how that can connect with Michael Myers and Halloween, it's supposed to put you in the same fear that the actors are experiencing right now. Because when you think about it, like the Halloween theme is obviously something to put fear within you. When you hear that, it's like you get some sort of PTSD of like how scared you were in the first movie. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So just imagine hearing that, but at a grander scale. So
For sure.
it's inducing fear tenfold within you. So,
Yes.
and you can feel the music like rumble within you. I'm pretty sure if we were to see this in IMAX, my God, what John Carpenter is going to do to us is going to rivel our pants and rivel our balls or something like that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying, like it's
It's
really gonna affect the audience members tremendously.
yeah, and again, if it's done really really well, it's something that most people probably wouldn't even notice. It would be part of your experience and what you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing. Um, but it plays a huge role. I mean, you have a one piano versus the equivalent of 40 people playing the same thing in unison as loud as they possibly can. I mean, it's just it's incomparable, really. So
Mm-hmm.
the sound is going to play a huge role in what we see from the film itself.